Good evening and welcome back to Nice Drop of Port Auckland FC's football fan podcast for the fans, by the fans. And so it came to pass on the 8th game, Auckland FC would eventually lose and lose emphatically. They did a 4-0 home drubbing to Western United. And it was a difficult watch, I have to say, to be there. Joining me tonight, we've got three guests. We've got Robbie joining us from Sydney. How you going, Robbie, mate?
Good, and I think you can just hear the cicadas behind me. I think that's me.
Rocking up this time of year, rocking up.
Exactly.
Coming on
just like the Port fans.
Yes. That's right. We've also got Lincoln Tans here. We'll go to Lincoln first. Lincoln's our special guest tonight. For those that don't know, Lincoln was a New Zealand Herald journalist for 20-odd years. I was just saying to him before the show, I used to be a journo at all, and I was always very envious of the scoops that you would get in the NZ Herald, Lincoln. So welcome. Lovely to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you, Dale.
And he's
it's great to
be
be...
Big Auckland fan as well.
I'm a big Auckland fan, definitely. I'm a big football fan. Originally from Singapore. Nobody cares about rugby in Singapore. Football is our game, although we've got a shit team. But that's what I grew up with, and I moved here in 1997, and it's that hunger for football since moving here. I've always been a Manchester United fan. So I know what it's like supporting a shit team. 1999 was the year when they had football. Was that the Football Kings? When it came to being in 1999, we were all so bloody hopeful that they would perform, but then, they didn't. And then the Football Nights, again, another disaster. And then this opportunity came with being a supporter for Auckland FC, and thank God they are a decent team. So
Lincoln, you've really embraced it. We've been watching you on Facebook, and you go down with your family, and you obviously huge connections in the Asian community. So we're gonna. I want to talk to you about this a little bit later in the show, Lincoln. But welcome to the show, and we'll just move on to my sidekick Matt McGann, who he's put himself as the curse here today. And for those of you that don't know, Matt had never been to an Auckland FC game. We talked about 6 wins, a draw, and he finally decided to go. And I've got a limerick first that ChatGPT and I wrote up earlier today. Right, here we go. And it goes along the lines of, there once was a fellow named Matt who donned his new Auckland FC hat. They'd won 6 in a row, but when Matt said, let's go, they lost, and that's the end of that. Stay away from Mount Smart. You've broken our heart. Our streak's gone, and Matt is to blame. A curse, they all say. He must stay away, or we'll never win matches again. Over to you, Matt.
Wow.
That's fair.
It's fair. I've shown my face, but before I even say anything, I knew this was kind of stuff was coming. So I've had a chat with the lawyer, and he's written something for me, a bit of a statement that I'd just like to say quickly before the heat comes on. I know it's coming. So anyway, I'll get straight into it. It was never my client's intention to cause such pain and harm to Auckland FC and its fan base. It must be added that the connection between my client's presence and Auckland's performance is tedious at best and slanderous at worst. My client also cannot be blamed for the fact that clearly Verstraete was running around with dad back. Gillian continued to run down blind alleyways, and a bit of a dodgy referee. Actually, it's funny you said Gillian there. I could have sworn I told him to say Brimmer, but it doesn't matter. Besides the point, I digress. All in all, my client is still fully behind Auckland FC, but will have to put some serious thought into any upcoming invites to Mount Smart Stadium.
Right.
Thank you.
Zero accountability then, Matthew.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Again, I just at the bottom, it just says that any questions should be put to the law firm themselves. Yeah, I've been told quite clearly to be careful with the with the type of words that's going to come out. So yeah.
We,
But hey,
we
I've shown my
we
face.
understand.
I've shown
You've
my
shown
face.
you've shown your face. Look, it did seem like a bit of a narrative. I mean, like we've been having a bit of a lull here, Lincoln, about Matt and his non-attendance, and even I'll tell you a little story. Matt, I was delighted that Matt came down with me and my toddler. It was the day at the beach. The Auckland FC put on this phenomenal, massive sandpit for the kids, and again we pitched up. And a guy stops and says, "Oh, you guys you're from the podcast," to me, and then he looks at Matt and he goes, "Matt, is that you? Is that you?" Like I like how he was getting into the gag, and it just seemed from that moment
that was it.
Something wasn't going to go right that day. We took our seats and look, it's nothing to do with us, of course. It was just one of those games. But let's have a talk about this game, Western United. I mean, from my perspective, Auckland, they seemed all at sea when it mattered, and I think I looked after 29 minutes, and Western United had already had 10 shots on target. Matt, you were at the game. I mean, what did you make of it? I mean, the first half they really came at us and done us, eh? Yeah,
I feel for you guys. It's quite tough when you actually. I hate to go over this point again, but when you're actually there, it is quite tough to see. It's a lot easier to see the ebbs and flows of the game when you're watching it on TV. But it just felt like I can't even think Auckland really had much from the beginning, and they just I mean the midfield was it just felt like it was swamped. There was just no out. Every time the ball was coming towards the Auckland goal, there just didn't seem to be an out for Auckland whatsoever. It's tough, but I mean, they just got absolutely overpowered in the first half. Clearly did.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a decision that could have maybe gone either way, but I don't think it really would have made much of a difference for the end result. I mean, I mean, we'll get onto the players and stuff, but it just felt like there was.
What about that first penalty decision? If we can have a quick think back, and I rewatched it just before, and I realised that it actually cannons off of Sakai's foot, and then hits Elliott's arm, and then the penalty's given anyway. I mean, Lincoln, did you see the game? Did you?
I did. Well, I wasn't at the game. I was watching it on TV. Yeah.
What do you think to that penalty?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's a handball, but whether it's like you said, it bounced off Sakai's foot. So again, I mean, there are several decisions. The referee's decisions in the game are questionable. That's one of them.
Yeah, we'll get on to the other ones. First questionable decision. Robbie, what do you make of that penalty? Is it if it comes canning in off someone's foot and hits an arm? Is that a pen? You're on mute, Rob, I think.
Yeah, because there's dogs and cicadas going on in the background. So just, for the sake of everyone listening and watching, it's to try and reduce the noise. Hard one. I never really know what the rule is with handball. It seems like it changes week to week.
It does.
I mean,
it does.
To the eye test, it's a handball, but I guess the ruling, if it comes off a foot, I can't remember if it's off a defender's foot and it hits his hand. So whoever gets hit, if it comes off their foot and hits their hand, that's not a handball. But because it comes off Sakai's foot and hits a different defender, I don't know. To my mind, like when in doubt, go on the eye test, and it was a handball, and I can kind of live with that. It's just the inconsistency of the decisions week to week, because we'll probably see this happen in the next week or two. And it probably won't be given a handball. And then more questions will be asked. So, I don't know. It's a hard one.
So a slightly dodgy penalty. They put it away. But it was a real onslaught those first 20-odd minutes. I mean, I think 15 minutes, that was when the pen comes in. 22 minutes is the second goal. Another goal-mouth scramble. Look, they seem to be just slicing us open like I hadn't seen before. Goal-mouth scramble. Polster makes a save, but it goes in, and it's kind of like 2-0, and you feel like it's not coming back from there, really. They were smashing us.
Yeah, which is weird, because to me that just screams of complacency. Like the fact that the team just did not turn up in the first couple of minutes, which is concerning.
Yeah.
But whether you put that down to, the first 2 months, basically, everything's kind of gone their way. So whether then that becomes a bit of the mindset is, this will just happen for us. We just need to turn up. Maybe that's the case. So if there is some kind of silver lining out of it, I don't think we'll see that bad a performance again. At least not in the next, say, 2 to 3 months. So it'll happen in football. We've seen it happen to our teams. We've seen it happen many times before. So it's nothing new. That's how I try to be a glass half full person anyway. So
I think
worst result of the season so far.
The key factor, and I don't know whether some of the rest of you agree with me, is that essentially we're missing our best centre back, but also we're missing our best right back playing in his best position. Yeah, moving Sakai into the middle. He's obviously he can play there, but they were just slicing through us like I hadn't seen before. And it got worse. 3-0, 3-0. Again, straight through the middle. Was that the one where the ball might have hit the ref? Yeah.
No, it was Brimmer who the ball didn't hit the ref. Otherwise, the ref would have had to have stopped it. It was Brimmer who was making a play for the ball, ran into the referee, and that's where the controversy happened. Yeah.
That's right. Because I saw after the game, the referee, she was taking quite a lot of stick online, and I having been at the game, I hadn't really thought that it was a badly refereed game at all, but it was just one of those games.
The thing is, the eye test was that just Auckland were just getting overrun. Though, if it wasn't going to be this, it was going to be that. It was going to be something else.
Exactly.
They were always finding the space, particularly in the middle of the field. It was always the ball was just going out. The ball was, defended out, and it was almost instantaneously coming back. The midfield was just, and I think you're right. I think moving these people around, a bit like cricket. You've got a problem at number 3, and you've got a good guy at number 4, and they try and bump up the number 4 to number 3. But all you've done really is you've created two problems. Really, you've taken your best player out of his best position to try and fill a gap, and you've almost got the worst of both worlds. So I think there's a bit going on, really. Yeah.
Lincoln, I'll bring you in here, mate. You've seen all the games. A significantly different kind of game to watch this one, eh?
Yeah, I mean it's really painful, and it's to be honest, I kind of switched off after the third goal by Ibusuki. It was just too painful to watch the second half. Complacency. I think that's the thing with what's happened to the Auckland FC team at this game. I think. Clearly Dan Hall was missed, but then again, it's people are blaming the referee, but I think it's just the real people to blame are the players that they just didn't turn up.
Yeah.
Yeah, complacency. So we're thinking maybe it was a kind of mental thing. They just won. Everything was so easy to this point. They got caught unaware.
That's
the Western United players, give them credit. They were good. They were.
They played damn well. Yeah,
passing was brilliant.
I thought they were good.
Yeah.
If you watch them in the Sydney game, they were great. I mean, they don't deserve to be in that mid-table position. I think they're a good team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty rubbish old game. The fans. I mean, I guess we talked about this in the podcast. We've been talking about this for a while, and what happens when the bubble bursts. And so the bubble burst dramatically. All there was a lot of silence at the ground. When the goals went, of course, which was the first experience for us, Robbie. Having not really lost before Mount Smart, having there wasn't the din of the away fans. It was just silence. So that was kind of a little bit eerie. But people stayed to the end. The cheering carried on. The port kept supporting. And I'm always listening. I'm always ears, and I'm listening. And some guy was yelling because he just bought a brand new shirt and he couldn't believe they were losing. And I'm like, oh no, is this the slippage? Is this the slippage of the fan base?
Maybe he was the curse.
Maybe he was.
Maybe. Yeah, that's right. I'll happily pass it over.
I think it must have been you, Matt. It must have been you.
I think it was. Yeah, true. That's why I put the statement out. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Lincoln. I do want to talk. We cover the game. Let's talk a bit to you, Lincoln, about supporter bases. Of this club, and we have chatted already, on this show about where it's going to come from, how it's going to continue, and a city's connection to a football club. Tell us about Asians in Auckland and New Zealand. What type of love and passion? Generalizing, because lots of people from the continent of Asia, but what's the passion like for football?
Football is, if you look at the migrant communities, few would actually care about rugby. So football is the game for a lot of the migrant communities. And I think Auckland FC has done the right thing in trying to engage them. And from the onset, we chatted about this earlier in the program. But I got involved with Auckland FC by chance as well. I mean, through my work at the Herald as the diversity reporter, I'm also a member of the police ethnic advisory panel. And it just so happened that Rakesh Naidu, superintendent, was also a board member of New Zealand football. And he, at the time, had arranged a meeting with Auckland FC, who was actually, keen to engage with the migrant communities, and he invited me along to that meeting, and that's basically how I got involved. And while through that discussions, it was a bit hard for me to use my role at the Herald to try to bring in ethnic communities and Auckland FC, but I have this other foodie group called Chowlap Club, and that had 17,500 members, and so we thought of, why don't we use that club to sort of reach out to the ethnic communities, and that sort of led to things that we had to think outside the square, right? So that led to things like getting restaurants involved, the Ajisen Ramen launching the Black Knight Ramen, and then football academies where we had Gillian and Jesse Randall come up to play with the Chinese kids at the Hedgehog Football Academy. And that sort of engagement really helped fuel the support for Auckland FC. You have to understand that for migrant communities, football is our language. Not rugby, not any other game. Myself, I'm from Singapore. As far back as I can remember, I've been a football fan. I remember watching the All Whites beating China to qualify for that 1982.
That way back.
I was at the National Stadium for that game.
Were you?
And my whole family are Manchester United fans, and came here, moved to New Zealand, and there was this void that was just waiting to be filled. And I think for a lot of migrant communities, that we have that similar sentiment, and along comes, like I said, with all the disappointments of the Knights and the Kings, along comes Auckland FC, and the fact that they showed interest in trying to get connected to the ethnic community, that sort of warmed a lot of the communities up to the club as well, and that's why you see that big massive fan base. I think we spoke about this earlier as well. The waving of the different flags from different nationalities, but even from among the communities. If you look at did you watch TV1 earlier? At the Ellerslie racecourse, there was the kid wearing the Auckland FC jersey. It was a news program for covering what Boxing Day like. And then just 2 weeks ago, I think I was at Manawa Bay, and we had, I think there was this guy of African nationality and someone else, but two jersey wearing shoppers, strangers. They were at the food court and they became instant friends. They started talking to each other. So it's what Auckland FC has done is actually massive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think you're right.
So
It's bringing many communities together, and football is the connector.
That's right. I mean, like that whole bridging of it actually bridges cultural and national divides. This Auckland FC, it's something that I don't think any other organization or has ever been able to do, and it's really exciting seeing it happen.
It is exciting happening. I've got a slight example of that for us actually on Saturday, and there was a guy sat in front of us, and I'm not quite sure where I'd place him in the world, maybe North Africa, Middle Eastern, and as soon as we went 1-0 down, he was moaning about the football. We were moaning about the football. 2-0, 3-0 down. We're all going to change it together. We've got a lot of good ideas, and it was exactly like you said. It's two very diverse groups of people just in that little microcosm on our little row. Coming together over football, and I see that down at the ground. All the flags, the French flag this week was prominent. The Chilean flag and the Colombian flag are always there. So yeah, I think the Asian community is one of our fastest growing communities, as you tell us, Lincoln, and I mean, are you getting the numbers down at the ground that the club would hope for from the Asian community at the moment?
The first few. You see, I think what the club did, especially for the first, I'm not sure about the first few games. I know the first game, they were actually giving out a lot of free tickets to the ethnic communities, and I think that did well for them spreading the word. They just got involved, just stuck into the spirit of the game, and actually, I mean. All I can say is Auckland FC has done, in terms of engagement with the communities, they've done it right.
Yeah, I think so. So are you going to the next game, Lincoln?
Definitely, I've bought my tickets. I was lucky enough to hold back and not buy the ticket until today, Boxing Day, 50% off.
I saw that bargain.
Well played.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my tickets today.
I went early and got a season ticket for me and the kids, which has been good. It's been good, and it means I don't have the admin. But it does mean I'm committed to every game, come rain. Yeah. Well, so obviously Boxing Day today, and the Christmas New Year period. Auckland have actually got 2 games this week. One midweek against the Central Coast Mariners, and then we're at home to the Melbourne Victory. What does everyone think about football and A-League football during this period? Because and I will slightly say, bearing in mind that particularly in Auckland and probably the Australian cities aren't quite as bad as this, but all Aucklanders get the hell out of Auckland over 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year, as we know. Robbie, what do you make of football this time of year?
Well, I have a foot in both camps. Obviously, it keeps me in work, having a job. But I guess it's a weird one. It's, and I think this has been the A-League's kind of issue for quite some time, in that we are played over summer and we start when the other football codes don't. So there is clear air. And I mean, we also see like the Big Bash here in Australia, and I think the Super Smash starts up, if it hasn't started already in New Zealand. I could be wrong.
Mel know about the Big Bash.
It's
soon, I think.
Soon.
Yeah. Super
yeah. But it starts over summer anyway, so they kind of look to build on that, school holiday period in general. I don't mind it, but I guess it does. There's so many games that come very quickly, so part of me thinks about the player welfare side of things as well, having to back up. Like, for example, Auckland will play on Saturday and then have to jump on a plane, and I think it's be 3 days later, New Year's Day. That's not easy.
It's Wednesday, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
So I don't know where I sit, to be honest, is the short answer. I like it, but I also kind of don't. So I don't know how that answers your question, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think from an Auckland FC perspective, a lot of people are away, but there's still a lot of people here, and I mean, it'd be interesting to see what sort of crowds turn up on New Year's Day, definitely. You know, any of us that aren't away at our batch or are, you know, going sailing around on our 18-foot catamaran just aren't really worth mentioning, you know. But we'll be the ones at the
Must
games,
be nice.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not getting away to your batch, Matt?
No, and the boat's in the workshop, so I'll be so I'll the 20-foot yacht's just got a bit of service it needs doing, so won't be on that this time. So yeah, I mean, for me, football and Christmas and boxing and New Year has always gone hand in hand, I guess, just being from the UK, you know, and it's pretty cool really, because you do, being a bit selfish. I can definitely understand from a footballing from the club's point of view, having so many games, you know, I mean, I think my football team has got to play 4 games over 15 days or something like that, which is a huge amount of football to play. But again, being selfish, it's great. You get back to back games at a period where you've got the time to watch it. So I think that's it would be interesting. I think you'd think that the crowd would suffer a little bit, but you'd think that the viewing figures would be quite good. I think, you know, people being off and having a bit more time and have got things done when they would have done them on the weekend. You know, I think that maybe that the viewing should be quite good for it. So again, I'm not sure if that really answers the question. The only other thing that I thought maybe would that it's such a short season and that's quite difficult and that could suffer. Would they maybe have a break? You know, like some of the Italians and the Germans, you know, in their league, they kind of extend it over.
But we've only just started. They've only just started.
Yeah. Well, that's
already.
That's true. That's the pushback. Yeah. I like it. I'm probably a foot in the or both feet in the. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I like a lot of football over the Christmas year period, and it's great because I've got like English football to watch, and now obviously the Auckland A-League.
Right.
What about you, Lincoln? Happy for a bit of footy over the Christmas break?
Well, look at the Boxing Day and the New Year's Day races. It draws the crowd, right? I mean, so having football on New Year's Day, I think it just gives something else for people like us. People who are not going away. I mean, like, so you've got the thousands who are out of Auckland, but then you've also got the many thousands who are stuck here and just looking for something to do. And I think it's great to have football on New Year's Day.
That's true.
Yeah. And for those who haven't been able to go to a game previously, you know,
I think you see on New Year's Day, you don't have the normal weekend chores where you've got to take your kids to football or what have you.
That's right.
You actually have that free time and So it'll be interesting to watch. I mean, like just looking at the numbers, but I think it'll be high.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It wouldn't be the Phoenix high, but then it'll be in the probably 10,000-15,000 at least.
Mid-range sort of crowd,
which is still a good crowd.
Well, are we still the most attended team in the A-League? I think we were last week when I looked at it in terms of attendances. Auckland so far.
I think so.
We'd be up there. I mean, I don't think we should get. I mean, well, let's talk about how despondent we should be about this defeat and going into these 2 games. So we've got 2 games in quick succession. You know, the team looks like it's a bit shaken by that result, I have to say. How do we, Matt? Do you want to start? How do you feel the team's going to react to this? And well, we get on a little bit later about what changes we can make. But this group of players.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually going to go from the point of the personnel. I think there's a change or two that I think we will be seeing. I think it'd be quite rare to lose 4-0 at home and not see at least a couple of changes, 3 changes or something like that. But I mean, hey, it's a bit of a buzzword, a bit of a cliche, but it's character, isn't it? I expect to see something. I think what I think we'll see. I think it goes hand in hand with the personnel and how they'll react. But it wouldn't really surprise me if the next game ends in a bit of a 0-0. It's away from home, or a 1-0, smash and grab for Auckland or something like that. I think that's how they're going to react. I think Steve's going to make sure that they're really set up and they're drilled, probably as we speak, or probably not as we speak right now, but obviously the training that's going to go before the game to make sure that he's going to keep things pretty tight at the back. Yeah, he's not going to be. He's going to hopefully learn from what he saw, and And again, I think that'll go with the personnel. I think there'll be changes.
Yeah.
Robbie,
agree.
Sorry.
Do you think Tommy Smith will come on?
Yeah, that's probably where I see a change.
Yeah, that's the big change for me. Like I think we miss a lot by not having Saka at right back.
Yeah,
I think we need a vocal organizer, which Tommy Smith is. He's just that old school hard nosed centre half. So I think by putting Saka on the right, where you saw him dominate the first month and a half, Tommy Smith can take that experienced role, because I think it's important in a spine. You need to have, particularly as central defenders, you need to have either one, ideally two, really strong vocal character organizer. And I just don't know if Hiroki Saka is that. Which he doesn't like, and I mean this in the best possible way, because his Japanese the English isn't great, whether it's that the communication with the rest of the team is actually quite getting through, whereas Tommy Smith just is a natural. He's a former white captain. So he has that. I don't think Nando's quite there as a character. I don't know how vocal he is, but by having Tommy Smith as the experienced head there, that I think would shore things up 100%. And then going forward, more changes. I think Nato Moreno has to start, I think. I'm assuming most people would agree with that. And then,
well, I mean, we called for Moreno last time to start, and he didn't do much on Saturday, did he? I mean, mind you, nobody played well.
No. I don't think it went his way.
Yeah, no. I'll let Lincoln jump in next, but I think as we get onto the ratings, I mean, I looked quite a bit on the on the website that does the ratings, and I think actually those numbers will kind of actually highlight kind of what it thought. But yeah, I'll let Lincoln.
Here's Matt's ratings. Let's respond to these.
Well, I think with the ratings the thing that really sticks out actually is that Elliot gets a 5. Actually, Elliot is by far the worst scoring when I looked at both sites that rate the back four or the 5 as a collective. He was actually quite, I think 5.5. I think collectively he was around the low 5s, whereas actually someone like Nando, he was actually quite high. De Vries was a bit whatever, but Sakai wasn't too bad. So it's obviously picking up that I think Auckland suffered quite poorly on the right hand side. That's where a lot of maybe tackles or challenges or possession.
I actually felt like the midfield didn't do a very good job.
Well,
I think we were getting sliced open so easily.
I think where the numbers get really thrown out is that when these websites look at players, actually Auckland had a pretty decent end to the first half, and they had a pretty strong second half, and obviously then conceded towards the end. So I think it takes into account what they did with the ball when they had the ball at the end of the first and at the majority of the second. But again, as you can see, the numbers aren't jumping off the page. I mean, no one barely gets above 6.5. I think only May gets above 6.5. So, but yeah, I mean, Gallegos gets 5.5, and Mastrate, I think, is lucky to get a 6. So yeah, that reflects that the midfield was overrun for sure. Yeah.
I just also want to pick up on this Tommy Smith idea, and I was reading quite a bit on the socials, and a lot of people saying, of course, Tommy does have that vocal leadership. He's a big person and personality around the camp, but his legs have gone. That's what some people were saying on the socials, and he is getting to that age, and I did see it against the Phoenix, and if we defend high up the pitch, how is Tommy going to go at this level now? This age.
I think then with that it becomes a tweak of style, tweak of formation, because I think Nando's got the pace to kind of cover that. You can hide aging legs by having a quick centre back next to them. I mean, it's maybe not quite Dan Hall kind of pace, but I think Nando's quick enough. It's just then you have to kind of cheat it a little bit. Obviously, if you're pushing forward, Nando's probably got to have to stay back a step or two just to kind of, as the safety net. It's about how smart Corica is with his selections. I think if Smith plays, then they need to change things slightly. Maybe it is a back 5. I don't know.
How can we change that midfield? I mean, Vestrada's back in there. Gallagher's is sort of in there. There's no one else to come in, is there? I mean, it's the same personnel. These two games, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, I think it's either McKinley or even Brimmer comes back into that holding role potentially, which he did a pretty decent job when Verstrada came off in the derby.
I feel like
the City game.
a couple of injuries, and we feel like we're a bit thin now. What ideas? So there's a January transfer window coming up. Maybe Robbie can give us a little bit of an insight into this. Now we've got some wages freed up. Is that right? Because Joey Champness has left, so we've got room for a signing. Is that where we're at? We can bring in a decent player from somewhere, and how does that work? There's no transfer fees?
Yeah, I think that's how it'll work. They do have the option of marquee signings, which will go outside of the cap. But that, the club doesn't strike me as something that would do it that way anyway. They haven't really done those, the big name marquees. I guess it's just who's available, because there is no domestic transfer system in place as yet. I think that's something that the A-League is working towards anyway, that Football Australia is working towards. But it's, an A-League club would have to release a player for another A-League club to come in for them, basically.
Right. So we can only take someone from
or it's just
A-League
international
player,
free agents.
Or international lower league sort of player somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And I looked at it earlier. I think that the window in Australia opens January 16, I think, 15 or 16, and it goes until Feb 12, somewhere around there.
Right. Okay. And any inside intel, Robbie? Any scoops on who we might get? Any ideas?
Well, I haven't heard any scoops, and it literally just dawned on me today. So, long story long. Last week, I was abused by the A-League off-air team, my colleagues, Robbie Thompson, Daniel McBreen at 10 Paramount. They, first of all, wanted a name drop, so there it is. In return for a name drop on their podcast.
Of course.
So keep an eye out.
Goes without saying.
Yep. But Daniel McBreen, his I think issue, and he's tactically one of the best pundits I've worked with. He's picked up that there's two issues. Well, one of them's his, one of them's mine. The issue is that Auckland doesn't have like a 20-goal striker to his eye. So I don't know if Guillermo Mai's that kind of that productive output striker, whether he's capable of bringing the 15 to 20 goals, or at the moment it seems like the goal is going to be shared around a bit. But who's that focal point? So it kind of just dawned on me today that someone like a Bruno Fornaroli, who is on the outer with Melbourne Victory and is the league's leading goal scorer of all time, he's up there. If he's available, he's a genuine number 9 who will run for days, who can score from anywhere. Is he an option for Auckland FC potentially? So someone like that, maybe a bit of a hot take. It'll probably never happen, but
how does that deal, how would that deal come about though? Like Auckland have to, go to Bruno or go to the club, or they don't just pay Melbourne anything. Then Melbourne have to agree to release him. Is it?
So he would have to be released by Melbourne Victory, and then as a free agent, he'd be able to be picked up, or unless Melbourne Victory loan him to Auckland. There is precedent of A-League sides loaning between each other. But for someone of Bruno's caliber, I don't see it happening anyway. It was just a name that kind of dawned on me and went, actually, he would look very good in our colours, and 2, he would actually be that kind of focal striker. But as Blair said in the YouTube chat, we've already filled our visa slots, so it's an impossibility.
And 3, I love the theory that we're really leaky at the back. Get someone in up front. It's like the wheels are slightly coming off. Stick another turbo in it.
It's not a bad idea.
If you score 6 and the other scores 5, that's a win.
Yeah, well, that's right. Exactly. We used to have a manager that had that same philosophy. Yeah.
Do you guys remember Kevin Muscat, or was that before your time?
Oh, I remember. I know Kevin.
I remember Muskie.
Yeah, I know him from back in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, like Melbourne Victory. I mean, like if there's someone of that caliber now, we need him.
Yeah, he was. It was he.
Oh,
Kevin
actually,
Muscat
sorry, I just
guy.
need to correct myself, Blair. Sorry, I'll just jump in quickly. Blair Fornaroli is an Australian, actually, so he won't take up a visa slot. Thank you for reminding me, Blair.
Oh,
sorry,
there you
carry
go.
on.
Get him in. Get the turbo in.
So Bruno could be in.
There you go.
No, I like
Bruno
it.
could
Go
be
with
a
that.
new striker.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one idea. New striker. The other idea is a new defender, I guess. To actually come in for Dan while he's away. But it sounds like it's a transfer window, but it's you can only get someone if someone else wants to ditch them, and you would have thought if they're being ditched, then they're not that up to it.
Yeah. And someone who, again, Blair, who's very active on the chat tonight, and has mentioned to us someone like a Bill Tuiloma, all white, played in France, currently in the States. Yeah, on the outer a bit at his US club in Charlotte. He would be a very handy replacement. Can play centre back, can play defensive midfield as well. He'd be great cover. Might take a bit of time to get him up to speed, but I think that's a great signing if Bill decides to open up the purse.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is when I was thinking back at the interview with Terry when he mentioned that Auckland FC wanted 2 people for every position. Which is always a good idea, to be competing. You push the other one further along, and obviously you compete for the position. You always get a stronger team on the outcome. So, so that makes me wonder that there was always kind of a contingency plan in place. If they do go down, if they do lose a player for a period of time, there was always going to be a player that was going to step in. But that kind of moving Sakai across to the centre back and then putting Elliott at right back kind of almost maybe goes a little bit against. So this is why that we always keep coming back to Tommy Smith. It feels that Tommy Smith is that third or fourth centre back that's ready to step in and take the place. And it's just weird that he hasn't just slotted in, out Smith in.
That's right. He's done anything but put him in, other than those last 10 minutes, which makes me think maybe he's not ready.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. We'll have to see how that goes. 5 at the back always feels like an option as well.
Yeah, but you're right. Defense is somewhere we need to fill as well. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, Lincoln. What's your thoughts on this? Any ideas to fix the team?
I think we've got the Tommy Smith thing is still to me that important plug. I mean, regardless of what is, I don't think he's of that. You talk about aging legs and all that. I think he's still got a few good games left to play.
Definitely.
And Corica, I think he's still. We've got a decent team. I mean, like I don't believe that just because Dan Hall's out and that the whole team collapses. I think it's just what happened. I believe that what happened last week was just a one-off. We'll bounce back and we've still got the personnel, and I think I mean, like if you look online, you hear people talking about that Tommy Smith thing, and it still puzzles me why he's not being played, because I think he would actually be a great gap filler for Dan Hall.
Absolutely.
You know what else? What else annoyed me was in the 11th minute. I was watching the replay back today. Auckland played out from the back, and nearly screwed up in the 11th minute. I don't know if anyone actually remembers that. And they nicked the ball off us right in the box and put it in the side netting. And I just you look at it back and you're like, why? We're depleted at the back. We've got different personnel in there. Like, can we not just knock it long? Sometimes, but it's the way we play football. It's the way professional football is now. It seems. Lincoln, what's your views on all this?
What are your thoughts on Paulson? I mean, do you think he's actually lost a bit of his confidence in the last 2 games?
Oh, I think he made a couple of good saves still, reactive saves.
Yeah,
against Western. I don't know about lost his confidence. I think the defence generally has lost a bit of confidence.
Yeah, might be tricky with just with the reshuffling in front of him is always in effect. If you're playing, he's probably when Hall was playing, he probably could say to you, I could receive a pass from this side. I could almost probably guarantee where Hall would be. But then you take Hall out and Sakai moves here and Elliott moves over there, and it's like, oh, okay, they haven't quite up to speed, or that's how so maybe that doesn't help.
But what we're forgetting is just how many shots we allowed Western to have in this game.
Oh,
compared with all those, so you're all it's you can't look at the defense and goalie. I think protection wasn't there in this game. It was just a little bit all over the shop.
Yeah.
But so we move on. We've got 2 games in quick succession. Well, let's start with Lincoln. Like we're away over in Central Coast, and then we've got this victory game. How do you think we're going to bounce back, Lincoln?
Central Coast. I mean, I think Corica would have, really spoken to the team, and I don't think we'll see a repeat of last week, because if you've watched if you've watched the last 7 games until the 8th where they fell, I think we've got a pretty steady team and a bit of complacency set in the last game, but they're going to bounce back with a lot more confidence, I feel, in this Central Coast game.
Yep, Central Coast. And Robbie, what do we know about Central Coast? Are they any good?
Please tell me crap.
They've made a really slow start to the season. Let's put it that way. So where are they? Currently 10th. One of the league's worst in terms of scoring goals. Second worst with only 6 scored so far. Had a really good result on, was it Monday, against MacArthur at MacArthur. But they are a team that has struggled in front of goal. Not bad creatively in terms of going forward, but it's just that end product where they really lack. My big concern is that they've got a little bit of more confidence sort of creeping into their game. Alfie McAlmont playing in the center of the park is a very good player. Qual up front will run for days. Again, it's just that he's lacking that finishing touch. I think it's a good team for Auckland to come up against. And if you take anything from the Phoenix game in Gosford a couple of weeks ago where they pantsed them 3-0, playing that high tempo, that kind of game, which we expect Wellington play and which we have seen Auckland play. I think they're all right, but I just kind of want to see the team that Steve puts out first before I can make a definitive comment on it. But the Mariners are a tricky team. Based on what we've seen so far from this season, I think Auckland still has enough man-for-man, quality-wise. Yeah, but there's still kind of, I don't know, the Western results giving me a bit of, bit of a scare. This is a bit of this can be a banana peel game.
It's a big scare, and I have to say, like, Liam Gillian on the wing. Matt and I were watching him because we were right down there, and he does pick up the ball well. He runs with the ball, but we were saying to each other, he's not looking up at the moment enough. He's not looking up, and he's running into blind alleyways. And I don't know if that was just a symptom of the game on Saturday. Matt, did you notice that?
Wow. Well, yeah, not only did you notice it, I noticed it. My lawyer noticed it. I mean, he doesn't even like football, and even he noticed it. I don't think he noticed it. He didn't even watch the game, and even
your lawyer sounds very, very much like you, by the way.
He does, yeah. I wonder, shifty, yeah, in all this, yeah. I'm just, it's fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see the TV puts out what Robbie said, because we've actually kind of got into a very easy lull with Auckland. Yeah, the results have been churned out. The team has stayed quite the same. It's all been kind of quite plain, pardon the pun, plain sailing. But it'd be interesting to see what he does. Again, Auckland just haven't. You just don't become a bad team overnight. They're a good team. They're top of the league.
Correct.
They've scored decent goals and they've kept clean sheets pretty well up until the last 2 games where the unfortunate injury came. So. Yeah, I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll be able to bounce back. I see a draw. I see something very tight. I see a 0-0 usually. What happens when a team gets pumped at home? Yeah.
Yeah, I think getting a point over there would be a good platform. And it is 2 games on the bounce, and you go away to Central Coast, like Robbie says, quite a bit of travel, get over to Aussie, come back, New Year's Day game. A lot of expectation. Mount Smart, Melbourne Victory they're a good side though, aren't they? Melbourne Victory.
Yeah, very good side. And this I think similar to what City was a couple of weeks back. Victory would be now their biggest test at home, particularly if worst case scenario we don't come away with anything from Gosford. That's going to be a huge game because you're looking at Auckland potentially, if results kind of go their way, they won't be sitting atop of the table. Victory most likely would be. And Victory are aside, even though they still have an interim manager, what they've done so far this season and the attacking firepower they have, in fact, firepower right across the park, that's going to be such a dangerous game. So it's they need to get some kind of momentum. They need to get something from Gosford to go into New Year's Day with some kind of confidence.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's 2 very close games together. 2 defeats would really knock the confidence. I mean, I do agree with all of you that it's been such a great start, and this team have proven they can win many games and take teams on, and so we shouldn't be too despondent. I guess the players and the coaching staff they'll be talking to each other and just saying, look, well, we expected to lose at some point, right? Like we can't. I know it was a bit of a tonking, but it's just one game. Put it behind them and then move on. That'd be the chat, I guess, definitely. around the traps. What about the Aussies over there in Sydney? Are they happy that Auckland have finally lost a game, or give you a bit of stick?
I've been copying it seriously. Just people at work, just wheels are coming off. Here we go. Couldn't have lasted. All that sort of thing. Yeah. No, it's. I think there's a little bit of happiness there. Auckland's, there's some kind of chink in the armor. It's yeah. But it's football. It's going to happen. I certainly didn't expect Auckland to go through 100% record because that's just never going to happen. But I don't know. It just and to loop back on the other point I was going to make so Danny McBreen mentioned this, the lack of goals up front. We've got a defensive gap. The other interesting one for me is who is that character that's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck in this Auckland squad? Who is it that is going to stand up and say, right, things are turning to shit. Follow me. Who is that player? And I don't know if I can answer that. You look across the league. So I was,
Brimmer was the one that come to my mind.
He's the only one that looks to me like he could do that.
But
yeah,
when I saw him live,
it's that kind of again. I think the vocal thing is so important. Who's going to be the one barking orders? That's going to that organizer. I made some notes looking across the league. So someone at Adelaide, like a Stefan Mork. The names might not necessarily resonate with you guys, but they will for A-League listeners. Stefan Mork, fiery kind of character, constantly in players' ears, opposition as well as his own. He's that needler, that kind of niggle player. Someone like a Luke Bratton at MacArthur, who will just, Alex Roofer at Wellington. You'll see him. He'll make a tackle. It might not be legal, but he'll make a statement. Yeah. But who is that player that's going to do that for Auckland? I don't know. Maybe it is a Bremer. He hasn't struck me as that kind of player in past seasons. Maybe this is his opportunity.
Yeah, that's
but I think that potentially is a gap that needs filling as well.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Like a Roy Keane-esque player in midfield. Yeah, scruff of the neck.
Someone who's just someone who might not necessarily go out and cause fires, but someone who will do the dirty work, but then who will also be able to make a defense splitting pass, who will someone who will literally go over to his player, like a Roy Keane, and just grab him by the ears and go, "What are you doing? You're doing this. You're doing this. Don't do that." That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well,
do your job.
On the live chat, Danny Milner has said it doesn't make sense why Tommy Smith isn't playing, because he's that type of player that will take control of the game.
Exactly.
And I guess
that's
in that sense, he is. Yeah, he's the one, right? So get him in, give him a chance. Yeah. All right. We'll have a quick round robin. Let's do predictions. 2 predictions before our next show. Lincoln, do you want to give us your prediction for Central Coast and then victory?
1-0 Auckland for the Central Coast game, and 2-1 Auckland versus victory.
He's a patriot. Nice. Robbie?
Yeah, I think Gosford will be tight as well. I see that being a 0-0 or a 1-0 to Auckland. Victory, I see that kind of being a draw, one or 2 goals, but a score draw.
All right. Matthew?
Yeah, before I mention mine, I've got a little bit of a theory. Maybe I should fly
If you don't go
over.
to the victory game, we'll win.
Yeah, well, that's another bit of a theory. The other part is I should go to the Gosford. I should go to the away game, because clearly teams are bloody awful when I'm there, when they're playing at home.
Oh, maybe it could be that.
So I fly over there.
Go on your once-a-year trip to Aussie.
And everyone will be like, I can't believe it. The Central Coast have been pumped 5-0. What's going on? And I quickly, obviously, try and...
Gosford is a very nice place. The stadium itself is one of the most picturesque in the Southern Hemisphere.
It is.
Why not?
There you go.
Okay.
Well, there you go. So, and I'll just slip out, obviously enjoy what Gosford has to offer. Back on the plane, come home. I'd expect a bit of a welcome when I get back, of course. I'm walking to Auckland Airport and there's a bit of a fanfare and all that jazz. But in saying that, I'm going to say 0-0 against Central Coast. And I think Auckland are going to get back to winning ways. I think they're going to get back to what they do best and win 1-0 against Melbourne Victory.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a draw over there will be a decent enough result. There'll be goals, 2-2. And Melbourne victory on New Year's Day at home. Ooh,
it's good that, isn't it? I look forward to that.
Maybe a victory. Dare I say it? Yeah, I think a strong team coming onto us.
Well, I ain't turning up.
You're not coming, are you? Oh well, maybe it won't be a Melbourne victory.
Well, the thing is, I don't think the choice is in my hands anymore.
Nah, you're a curse though. Do you think are you going to come back though, Matt? Seriously, I mean, you've got to maybe put it to bed.
If Auckland continue to lose, then I probably will, because then it'll be a hell of a lot easier for me just to go back into the fold, and people will go, "Oh, actually, it wasn't you. We were just crap." But if Auckland beat Victory,
back to winning ways,
to get back to winning ways, and then I turn up again, and the
stay away.
Exactly, that's right. Then I'm going to be I could practically be lynched outside by the dog ban or whatever it is. Mount Smart Stadium.
Well, Blair says, "Tell Matt he's got a bed in the old bar waiting for you." There you go. Whatever that means, but
that's good or bad. I presume it's probably bad.
You take it. Good stuff. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up. Lincoln, first of all, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Mate.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Lovely to have your perspective, and keep banging the drum with the Asian community, definitely, and getting down to the game. Like I said, it's so good to have all these different cultures and the melting pot that is Auckland playing out at the football. Thanks to Robbie for coming on and helping us out with our A-League trivia gaps that we would have without you. Thank you very much.
I try.
And when's your big commentary night coming up? You're Perth, aren't you? You've got the Auckland Perth.
Yes, Perth away, January 11. So it'll be close to midnight kickoff your time. So my Sky, just watch it later. Watch it in the morning.
Get to hear Robbie's dulcet tones. Doing the commentary, good stuff. And Matt, thanks for coming on, mate. And so the confirmation is not going to the game for a while. We'll watch the space with you.
Yeah, I think I'll just take a step back.
Take a step back. You've got it. You've got it without Matt at the game.
Let things cool down a bit. Just let the heat die down. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, guys. All right. Thank you very much. And listeners and followers and anyone that's given us a like, thank you very much. We do appreciate you listening in, and hope you enjoy the show and enjoy both the games over this next week. That was Nice Drop of Port, and how we always end up the port.
Up the port.
Or
So it's get a win.